In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a big jumbo fluffy pumpkin for your fall decor in a step-by-step tutorial. So let's get started. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to make the smaller version of the two jumbo pumpkins. This is the large, and this guy is the extra large. You'll find the pattern for the extra large one down in the description, and I also have a blog post on my website with both of the written patterns, which you can find also linked down in the description, as well as you can get the PDF pattern in my shop, which has both patterns included. Process is totally the same for the bigger one. The bigger one just has more stitches per row and more rows altogether. For these jumbo pumpkins, you're gonna need some Bernat Blanket yarn. This is just regular Bernat Blanket in the color orange leaf. And this is Bernat Baby Blanket yarn, and this is just the color green. You're gonna need an 8mm size L crochet hook. You're also going to need a large eye needle to sew up the pumpkin, and then to sew down through the center, I really recommend one of these long large eye needles. You just need something to pull the yarn down through the centers of the pumpkin because it's really kind of tough to do it with this little guy. You can, so if this is all you have, that will work. It's just gonna be a little bit more of a hassle, but if you can get something like this, I do highly recommend it. It makes it a lot easier. You're gonna want a stitch marker for when we do our stem, and of course a pair of scissors. To start, we're gonna make a slip knot with our yarn. And then we're going to chain 27 times. This yarn being so fluffy can be a little hard to see the stitches, so sometimes it's easier just to feel for them. You can feel the chains. We're going to be working into the second chain from our hook for our first stitch, and so this right here is the first chain, and then if you can feel the second one is right here, so that's where we're going to be working. You're going to yarn over, and we're going to work a half double crochet in that second chain from our hook. So I already yarned over, and now I'm going to insert my hook into the second chain, and I'm going to pull up a loop, and then I have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that is our half double crochet. And then we're going to go ahead and half double crochet in all the rest of the chains going down back to the beginning, and you'll have a total of 26 half double crochets. So if you want to count so you don't miss any, that's what I like to do. So there's the first 2, and then I'm going to just keep going until I get back to the other end. All right, there is row 1 complete. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn, and now we're going to be working into the back loop only of all the stitches for the rest of this rectangle part of the pattern. So what you're going to do, this is our loops on the top of our stitch. You can kind of see them. So there's the back loop back there. This is the front loop. And this here is the third loop that we get with half double crochet, which don't even worry about that today. We're going to be working under just the back one. To do that, we're going to yarn over and just insert right under only the back loop of our stitch. Pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3. And there we go. And this will give us a nice ridge that kind of gives us more texture for our pumpkin. So now I'm going to do stitch number 2. So I've done my yarn over, and then I'm just going to insert right under that back loop only. Pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3. And then we're just going to repeat that going all the way across. And here I'm at my last stitch. So I'm gonna do that one. And there we go. That is the end of row 2. And you're just going to repeat that same process for all the rest of the rows. So you're going to do a chain 1, turn, and then half double crochet in the back loop only of each stitch across. There we go, is row 3 complete. You're just going to repeat this until you have a grand total of 32 rows all together. And once you get that done, I'll meet you back here. All right, so I got my rectangle done. This is 32 rows. And now we're going to join the 2 short sides to make a tube. So I'm just going to fold mine in half, and we're going to meet up the 2 short sides over here. And I still have my yarn attached. And we're just going to slip stitch these 2 edges together. We're going to go ahead and do a chain 1 first, and then you're going to insert under the back loop of this side, and then just under both loops of the other side, and then just do a slip stitch. Go under the back loop, and then on the other side just go under both, pull through like that. All right, so now what we're gonna do is I am going to actually switch to a different yarn to cinch up the ends of our pillow, and I'm also going to switch to a different yarn or it's the same yarn for the ridges of the pillow, because the chenille yarn is kind of tough to work with for like sewing it up, and I'd rather just use some basic acrylic yarn. And I'm just going to use this. It's not exactly the same color, but you could use any acrylic yarn, basic worsted weight. So I'm going to cut my yarn, pull the end through the loop that's on my hook, and pull it to tighten. And I'm going to tie these 2 yarn tails together just because they're right next to each other. I might as well. And then I will weave those in. So now I'm going to flip mine inside out, or right side out, I guess, as this is going to be my outside. Next, I'm just going to cut a piece of this acrylic yarn, and I'm cutting an arm's length, like my arm span long, a piece of yarn. That's probably more than I need for this, but I'd rather not run out. And what I'm going to do is start on one end, and we're just going to sew around through the edge stitches, and we're just going to do like a back and forth stitch so we can cinch up the bottom of our pumpkin. And then you're just going to want to come back out right next to where your yarn tail is, so they're both on the same side. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull that off, and we're just going to pull to cinch up the side. And then we're going to tie a knot, pull real good, go ahead and tie a little knot, and then we're going to flip it to the inside and make it a little more secure, just to be safe. I'm going to take these yarn tails and just cut them so they're the same length. Thread it on my yarn needle and then just run it to the inside, and then we can sew across the hole, go right in the center. I'm out on the other side, and then you see where this hole is still. We're just going to sew through some stitches on this side of the hole. I'm sticking my finger there so I don't forget where the hole is. So there's that one, and then I'm going to go across to this side, and I'm going to sew through a couple stitches on that side, and that'll pull that part together. And then I'm going to go through and turn this on this side of the hole and then this side of the hole. Give it a good pull, and that'll really hold the hole together better. All right, and then we just gotta tie a knot. And this is on the inside now, so I don't have to worry about weaving in that end, it's just there. And there is our bottom of our pumpkin, all sewn up. And this is the top hole. So now we just need to put some stuffing down in the sky, and we still have to make the stem, so we'll be doing that in a second. But I just want to go ahead and put a little bit of stuffing down in here. And then we're gonna go ahead and cinch up the side. I'm gonna do, for this part is, we're gonna be cutting enough to cinch up this end and also to sew all the ridges. So what I'm gonna do is double up my yarn this time, just to be safe, because I want it to be plenty strong. And I'm doing 2 arm spans worth of yarn this time. And I'm just holding them doubled. That way I know I have enough. I'm gonna go ahead and start sewing up this side, and then we're gonna go ahead and do the stem, but I'm gonna get this side cinched up. And then I'm gonna weave in the short ends just down into my pumpkin. So I'm just gonna kind of sew this down through, come out the side if I can get a hold of it. There we go. Pull on that and then cut it. And the ends will just go inside. All right, so now we have our kind of slightly misshapen pumpkin, but we'll work on that. Just gotta give them a little massage. It's kind of hard to make it all the way through the pumpkin with a regular sized needle. So I have this long needle that's flat on the end. So for my first ridge, we're starting here. I want to make sure that I'm going on the seam. This is the seam where we sewed our 2 ends together. I want to make sure I make a ridge there. So I'm going to start on that one. And I'm going to pull my yarn down this way, and then here's our little hole on the bottom where we sewed up. I'm going to go right in that hole and bring it out the top. And then we're going to give it a nice pull, and you see it makes a cute little ridge that makes it look a little bit more pumpkin-y, right? And now we're gonna just go around and do that however many times you want. This one kind of just naturally looks like one here, so I'm gonna go right here. And then you kind of just want to hold your attention as best you can. And then we're just going to repeat that around for as many little crevices or whatever you want to call it as you want. And then we'll make the stem. All right, there we go. I did it 5 times. And now we just have to secure this yarn. I'm going to get my normal sized needle back out here. So I'm just going to take my yarn end and go around a stitch or 2, and then from there I'm going to tie a knot. And then you can just weave your yarn tails down into your pumpkin. And I'm just going to bring my needle out and bury my yarn tails like that. There we go. All right, so now our base pumpkin is done. We just need to make our little stem to cover up this hole and make this look super cute. So let's do that now. All right, to make the stem of our pumpkin, you're just going to need to grab whatever color yarn you're going to use for your stem. I'm using this green. And we're going to go ahead and do a magic loop to start. So to do that, we're going to hold our yarn, wrap it around, and then I take my hook and go under this part on the back of my fingers, scoop up a loop, pinch this right here, take my fingers out, all right, and then I just bring this yarn over to this side, kind of get my yarn on my fingers like I normally hold it, and then I just kind of I want to make this loop that's on my hook a little bit smaller. I just kind of pull the yarn and do that. Then you just yarn over to make a chain, and there you go. Now our magic loop is secured, and that is our chain 1 also. So now we're going to make 8 single crochets in our magic ring. So you just insert right into the ring and do your single crochet. So there's 1, you're going to do 7 more. Just grab this tail and be careful because this yarn does sometimes like to do weird things like shred or something on you. So just carefully pull, and also don't pull like too hard when you're tightening it or it can snap. That has happened to me a couple times. And here we go. This is what we're going to have at this point. And normally you would join your round here, but instead we're not going to join our rounds. We're going to work in a continuous spiral and not join our rounds. We're going to work in the back loops only and just single crochet in the back loops only, and that'll give us our flat stem top. So this is our first stitch, and just like the rest of it, it's kind of hard to see because of this fluffy yarn, but this is our first stitch, and this is the front loop, and this is the back loop right here. So I'm just going to go under that back loop and make my first single crochet. I didn't join my round or anything, I'm just going for it. And then just to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to mark that stitch with my stitch marker right there, so I know when I get back to stitch number 1. This I think is stitch 2 right here. So I'm going under the back loop only, single crocheting. That's 2, and then this will be stitch number 3. And I'll just keep going around until I get all 8. All right, we made it back around to the beginning of the row, and you'll see that the back loop only stitches leave us this nice little ridge here, and it kind of gives us this flat top, and then our nice stem going down just like a tube with like a flat top. And I think that just kind of gives it a nice look, and it makes it look kind of like more like a stem that got cut off. Now for the rest of the rows, so we got 4 more rows to go. We're just going to be doing regular old single crochet but in a continuous spiral, and you just need to do 4 more rows. So your stitch marker will be your friend to tell you when you got to the beginning of your row. So there was my first single crochet. I'm going to go ahead and mark it. And then I'm just going to continue around. And this time we're working under both loops. All right, I made it to my last stitch here. Got my last 4 rows completed. So now I'm just going to take my stitch marker out. And the last thing we have to do is just make a slip stitch to our next stitch over, just to kind of finish off our round. So I'm just going to insert, pull up a loop, and pull it through. And then we just have to cut our yarn. And I'm gonna pull it through the loop on my hook to finish off and just tighten that up. And then we can just stuff. I already stuffed the yarn tail from the magic loop down in there. And I'm just gonna stuff this guy down in there as well. And that'll be the beginning of our stuffing for the stem. And then we can just put a little bit of polyfill in here to give it a little dimension before we assemble our pumpkin. All right, now we're gonna put our little stem onto our pumpkin and it'll look super cute, as you can see. So I'm just gonna cut off a decent amount. It's about half of an arm span long. So from my right fingertips to like my chin. And I'm gonna use my large eye needle. So just figure out how you want it to sit. You wanna make sure you have it right in the middle and then figure out where the stem meets the pumpkin here. And then I'm just gonna go under a stitch or two on the pumpkin underneath right where I want it to meet with the stem. And then just leave a long enough tail here so we can easily tie the ends together once we get it all sewn on. And then I'm just gonna go under the stitches on the edge. So we're just kind of like whip stitching around. Then I'm gonna find another stitch or two on the pumpkin that I can go under. And then go under the next spot on the stem. Once you get all the way back around and you feel like it's pretty well secured, your end should be at the same spot, and you can go ahead and just tie a nice little knot here. Tie it pretty snug. And then I have a bunch of excess yarn, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut that off. I'm just gonna go right down next to where the ends are coming out and try to see if I can go across and come out the side. There we go. And there we go. Is it not adorable? So here's our finished pumpkins. This is the one that I was showing you how to make. This is like the large, and then this is the extra large jumbo guy. They're both pretty jumbo, but this one's definitely a little bit bigger. Like I said, the pattern for both of these you'll find down below, and I have a link to it, my website, with the free pattern. And I also have the patterns in my shop if you want to grab those. I'll put a link to that as well if you want a printable version. And yeah, I think these are so cute, and they're just so soft and squishy. You can use them as a pillow, you can use them as decor. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Thanks for watching.